Well, Thanksgiving has come and gone, and we're back at the coop building project here at Steepleview Farm. As you can see behind me, today was a big day. This morning when I got up, all I had in the ground were the posts that you saw us sink earlier. And then after I had the posts in, of course, then I went and started my construction of my floor joists. And I've got all the floor joists in. Now I've got to go to the trouble of nailing them all down and fixing them to the beams. But I'll show you around, show you a couple things, little mistakes that we made that you can maybe learn from. This is my first real big construction project like this, and a couple of tips. Things that I learned online weren't necessarily the best advice. One of the things you have to keep in mind is that you want to try and stay level, and I used a string level to level out the line where the bottom of the beam, or the top of the beams were going to be. But as you can see, I had to go in and add a piece of 2x underneath this set of floor joists because it was level from the first beam up there to the second, but it dropped off to this one. Since I had notched the post to sit the beams down in there, giving more support on the post than just support on the bolts, I have no idea why a string level wouldn't have worked. But after I used the string level and had everything lined up and we put the first board up, it wasn't right. But it was an easy fix. We got to shim it a little bit. Well, as you can tell, we've got pretty good amount of the new chicken coop framed up. After we set our posts in the ground, I hung these beams on the post and we bolted those through. Then I put down my floor joists, went the other way, and then yesterday we got the flooring down, 3/4 inch tongue and groove plywood. So we're in pretty good shape. Today we're going to start framing up the walls and hopefully get some of those stood up and in place. We've got all of our materials on the job site. It's a beautiful morning. It happens to be 2 weeks before Christmas. In fact, Christmas is 2 weeks from today. It's about 25 degrees outside. Everywhere the sun hasn't hit yet is still covered with frost. So it's a nice cold morning, perfect kind of weather to be working, and I really look forward to making some progress today. Before we're done today, I think we're going to have something that looks like a coop. The roof won't be on. We won't be able to get to that today at all. I hope maybe tomorrow I can get some help with the roof. It's going to be pretty far up in the air. It's going to take some ladders and more than one person to do it. So we'll see how much progress we make today, but the chicken coop's coming along. Oh, by the way, you can probably see underneath I've got some wire. We decided since the coop was up off the ground far enough that there was room for the chickens underneath. We pretty much wired off. We've got some more to do, this piece here and across the back, but I can get to those without having to have the floor off. But the rest of the wire in the other places I needed the floor off, so I got that done first. And of course we buried our wire about 4 or 5 inches in the ground and covered it real good and sealed everything up. So they ought to have a nice safe run underneath the coop until we can build the larger run in the springtime and begin to let them free range around the farm a little bit. But today, as we're building the new chicken coop, we hope to get the this and watch how some of this is done. Well, hi folks, welcome back to my video series on building our new coop. Confession to make. I undertook this construction project and I really thought that it was going to go a lot faster than it did. Here it is, January the 8th, and I've been using just about every available minute since October to work on this project. We're not done yet, but we're close. In a few weeks, I hope to be able to get the hatchery that's nearby, Mount Healthy Hatchery, to supply me with 15 or so barred rock 2-day-old chicks. And we'll bring them home. I'll show you the brooder box. We've got a brooder box constructed. We're going to put them in there, hopefully, to keep them warm and happy for the first few weeks of life until they can feather out and find their way around and acclimate to the new coop. But it is winter time, and we know we need to keep them warm. So I built the brooder box, and let's take a look at that. Well, this is my brooder box, and hopefully in the next week or so we'll be getting some chicks from the hatchery and bringing them here. I will have a solid lid over this open end, but then I have this end here over which I will mount the heat lamp. The brooder box is 2 feet by 4 feet, and should be enough room in there to raise a few chicks. I don't think we're going to get all of them to be happy in there for very long, although we hope they're happy for a while. I have constructed it so that I can remove some screws down on this end or the other end, whichever works out to be best. And the idea is that when they get big enough they want to get out into the coop a little bit, then we can leave the brooder box with the heat lamp in it. They got a warm place to get in, but they want to get out and explore their new home. The end comes off and they'll be free. The confession that I needed to make, though, is that even though I've been working on this chicken coop now since October and we've made a lot of progress, it's not done yet, and I really kind of feel bad. I had hoped to be able to shoot enough video to show every phase, every step of the construction, but it was just so much work that I needed to spend more time with a hammer in my hand and less time with a camera in my hand to get the job as close to being done as it is. But it's close, and I'm kind of proud of it, so come on, let's take a look at the new coop. Well, there it is. As you can tell, situated exactly where the old coop was. If you'll remember in the very first set of videos, I showed you the old coop that was on the property and how we took it down and dismantled it. Well, as you can tell by reference to the other building that's sitting there and the tree in the background and so on, this one sits pretty much in the same footprint the other one did, although I have to admit this one is much bigger, and it's going to accommodate chickens a whole lot better than that old coop did. So come on, let's look around just a little bit. You'll remember that we stood down here and I showed you how I had a friend come and drill the holes for all the posts that we put in the ground. Well, we got those in, and then of course after the posts were in, we put the beams up underneath, and I think I talked to you a little bit about how the beams went. They didn't go up as easily as we thought. A couple little construction mistakes. Batter boards weren't in exactly the right spot, so the whole project had a little bit of a squaring issue, but we got the foundation part done, and then it was time to put on the floor, which we did, and once the floor was on, it all kind of started to take shape. As you can tell by looking underneath, I'm only partly done with putting the wire up so that I can keep my chickens safe, and they'll have a little bit of a run underneath the coop. I'm not going to let them have full access to all of it. I don't want them to get up into a spot I can't get to if they decide to nest or something happens to them, but they're going to have a little run under here. Some more wire work to be done, but it's winter time and they're going to be chicks, and there's plenty of time for that. I've only got 3 of the windows in. There'll be 6 windows total, and I still have to build screening for the inside of the windows, but that's okay. If you can tell, up under the roof, the edge of the roof up there, we used metal roof that went from front to back, all one sheet, no seams anywhere, and that'll be all boxed off there with some wire, and then of course a gutter board across the back and a gutter to catch the water so that the area the chickens are going to play in won't be muddy all the time. That'll all be sealed off with wire as well. I'm really proud of the way it's starting to take shape inside, and you know, we've got an egg room where we'll be able to harvest the eggs and clean them and keep them in a refrigerator so that we can use them for ourselves and maybe have some to market to our neighbors and friends. But the egg room is under construction. It's almost done. I still have to build a few things. We'll show you that. The inside of the coop where the chickens are going to live, that's almost done. We've got a little more work to do, but we're making progress. And before we get it all done, I guess it's time to shoot a little video. So come on, let's go inside and I'll show you what it looks like. The steps are only temporary for construction purposes, and I do have an exterior door that'll go on. As you can tell, up above underneath the roof, there's going to have to be some more wire put in and a board across the front, and then of course along that seam there'll be a little bit of work to be done. But this is the egg room. When you first come in the coop, this is the area where we're going to collect the eggs. The first thing you need to notice is the hole in the wall that goes into the back of the nesting boxes. I showed you the antique nesting boxes that we harvested out of the old coop. Here they are. I'm going to be building a door that goes across here so that we can open the door and reach right in from behind without having to get in and disturb the girls. and get to the eggs from this room. I'm not sure exactly what kind of door we're going to have, if it's going to be a drop down or a swing aside. It's all wired, the electric's in. There's where another window will be cut and framed in a little bit. Of course, there's the front door, and lights inside will be controlled from a gang of switches here. Another window in the front. And something interesting that I want you to know about, you might notice that everything in here is painted with the exception of that one wall, and there's a good reason for that. You'll recall when we tore down the old coop, we salvaged some of the old siding, and we're going to use that siding on that wall so that there's a connection to the past in here. Today I completed the installation of the door which goes between the egg room and the area where the girls are going to be living and hopefully laying eggs, with a happy cluck or two along the way. So come on, let's take a look at the room where the coop goes into the transition from humans to chickens. From the egg room coming in, we've now entered the main area of the coop, and there's our antique nesting boxes that we salvaged out of the old coop. I do have some of the windows framed in and up and hung. I still have to build the caging for the inside. I have 3 of them finished. We used barn sash. You can find those at your lumber supply company. Used to be used all the time in barns. They're a little rare now, but they are still available. Barn sash, all you have to do is build a little frame for them and you're good to go. I took a cue from the book on the woods chicken coops to build this open area here, which will remain open all year for ventilation. And then today we also completed this little section of the coop. Back in here is where the roosts will be another window in the front over here. And you might say, well, wait a minute, it looks like there's a piece missing. Yeah, that's right. I didn't want to buy a whole nother sheet of this bathroom board, but I bought this board and put it on the walls in the area where the roosts are going to be. The idea is that if I put my roosts in here and there's any kind of manure and things of that sort that make it onto the walls, then it'll be a little bit easier to clean up. I didn't need to go all the way over here. Along this wall here is where I'm going to install my 6-inch PVC pipe with the chicken nipples in the bottom, and then they'll be able to get their water right here close to their roost, but far enough away it won't be contaminated. And underneath the nesting boxes is where we're going to have the feed tray with a little shelf above that. So this is kind of the way it's taken shape. Plenty of ventilation up here along the edges, up under the eaves, and in the front all that'll just have wire over it. So with all these windows and all the ventilation, we ought to be able to raise a bunch of happy chickens and have a bunch of healthy eggs. I have to confess, this has been a labor of love, but I've also had a lot of sore muscles, a lot of sore ankles, and evenings when I've gone up to the house and thought, what have I gotten myself into? It's actually pretty amazing how much work has gone into this coop. It's solid, it's not going to go anywhere. As you can tell, it's all built out of 2x4s, T111 siding, 3/4 inch tongue and groove flooring, 2x8 treated floor joists, 2x10 treated beams, 6x6. It'll be here for a good long time. I doubt it's going to end up looking like the old one, leaning and all falling down. And I realize it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun. Winter's not over, and there's always a project or two that you can pick up. I think this is going to be the one I'm going to stay after. We're making some progress. Just thought I'd bring you up to date. Can't wait till it's done, and can't wait to show you my chickens. They should be arriving almost any day now. Just as soon as we can get the electric hooked up and get the plugs working, and we can put our heat lamp in here and bring our brooder box over so the chicks will have a nice place to start their life here at Steepleview Farm. Well, stick with me. I'll be back with more videos as we make more progress, but thought I'd take this opportunity to bring you up to date with the in with the new portion of building our new chicken coop. Thanks.
Goodbye.